Thank you, Mayor Liccardo and Steve Buckner. Good afternoon. Okay, let's try that one more time. It's Friday. Good afternoon. Okay, a little bit better. Well, thank you for joining us today. Well, it's sure starting to look like 2017 is destined to be Reed Hastings' year, and not simply because Netflix is celebrating its 20th anniversary. To begin with, as filmmakers, Reed and Netflix are celebrating their first Golden Globe Awards with wins last month for The Crown as Best Drama Series and for its star, Claire Foy, as Best Actress in a Drama Series. On top of that, they have just been nominated for an Academy Award for their documentary 13th and 2 other documentary shorts. We wish them luck at the Oscars next Sunday night. And now this, the Packard Award, perhaps the most important recognition of all. Today, Reed Hastings joins a distinguished list of Silicon Valley icons that joint venture Silicon Valley has recognized because they embody the spirit of the man for which joint venture's highest honor is named. As a former Hewlett-Packard employee, I can say that, like David Packard, Reed Hastings brings that same sleeves-up, problem-solving approach to improving our community. He has not only established himself as the leader of one of America's and Silicon Valley's most successful companies, but at the same time, he has devoted much of his personal energy, time, and resources to support better education outcomes for our kids. I have personally witnessed Reed's commitment to helping improve the lives of others, in particularly low-income, underserved minority students, especially Latinos. He has dedicated much of his time to ensuring that these students have access to a quality education. In his role as a board member with our Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley, he conceived our Latinos in Technology Scholarship Program, designed to increase the number of Latinos employed in high tech by increasing the number of Latino college graduates with STEM degrees. He saw that the future of our workforce resides in our local neighborhoods. His foundation, the Hastings Fund, pledged $1 million to this much-needed scholarship effort. Now, let's take a moment and look at Reed's life and his achievements. He was born in Boston in 1960, the son of Wilmot Hastings and a government lawyer and his wife, Joan. He went to Bowdoin College in Maine, where he earned his bachelor's degree in math in 1983. After graduation, propelled by a curiosity of the world and a desire for community service, Reed joined the Peace Corps. He says he was especially drawn to the challenge of the Peace Corps slogan, "the toughest job you'll ever love." For the next 2 years, he taught math to high schoolers in Swaziland in South Africa. That experience informed his early passion for improving public education. Reed then returned to the United States to enroll in graduate school at Stanford University, where he studied artificial intelligence. In 1988, he earned his master's degree in computer science from Stanford, then held a couple of early positions before joining Adaptive Technology, a maker of high-speed switches founded by CEO Audrey McLean. In 1991, Hastings and 2 other men founded Pure Software. 5 years later, Pure merged with Atria Software, and by 1996, when Rational Software acquired the company, Hastings had accumulated enough of a stake to launch Netflix. The story from there is well known. Reed had racked up $40 in late fees on the rental of Apollo 13 from a local video store. At the same time, he belonged to a gym that charged a single monthly fee for unlimited workout visits. That seemed to him to be a much better business model. Reed and a colleague from Pure Software, Mark Randolph, founded their fledgling movie rental company in August 1997, offering a paid monthly subscription with no due dates or late fees. In the parlance of video, let's fast forward 20 years. Today, Netflix is the world's leading internet television network with over 93 million members, 93 million, in more than 190 countries, enjoying more than 125 million hours of TV shows and movies per day. But ladies and gentlemen, as successful as Reed Hastings has been, we are not celebrating him today because he is the CEO of Netflix. The David Packard Award goes to those who embody Mr. Packard's values outside their day-to-day careers. Mr. Packard understood that to fully succeed, people must step outside of their normal role and think more broadly about our region and how they can make it better. Just as Netflix was getting started, Reed went back to Stanford to study for another advanced degree, this time in education policy, so he could find new ways to make a difference. Netflix grew so fast that he wasn't able to finish that degree, but he left the program with a stronger passion and commitment to activism in education philanthropy, politics, charter schools, and a better education outcomes for our children. In 2000, Reed spent $1 million of his own money to promote and pass Proposition 39, a state constitutional amendment to make it easier to pass state school bonds. That same year, Governor Brown appointed him to a 4-year term on the state school board, which he served as president. In addition to his own board, Reed also serves or has served on the boards of the KIPP Foundation, Dreambox Learning, Pahara, Facebook, and of course the Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley. He is a member and former president of the Technology Network, an organization of business executives that promotes tech growth and innovation. Last fall, Hastings founded his own $100 million philanthropic foundation, the Hastings Fund, starting with significant donations to the Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley, as I mentioned earlier, and to the United Negro College Fund. The impact of his contributions and efforts on behalf of our kids will be felt in Silicon Valley for many years to come. It is this kind of civic entrepreneurship that merits Joint Venture's choice of Reed Hastings this year for its most distinguished honor. So, now let me invite the officers of Joint Venture to the stage to bestow the award upon this deserving recipient. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2017 David Packard Award goes to Reed Hastings.
Thank you. That was fun. Oh my God. It's an Academy Award. I'm never taking this off. I was never much of an athlete, so it's like my first gold medal ever. And what an honor to have it be the David Packard Award. As I was a young person in graduate school here, the legend of Hewlett and Packard and the philanthropic work and community involvement and civic engagement model that they set was inspiring to all of us and planted a seed for me for understanding how does a good citizen live, especially if they enjoy success. And then 20 years, 30 years later, to get an award named after him is an honor. So thank you all so much. One of the things that I've focused on is K-12 education. And I came to a startling and somewhat disheartening view, which is the way that the United States organizes our public education system, which, as many of you know, is unique. No one else in the world has local school districts, is a limiter on the success of what schools can do and what our educators can do. And that nonprofits were in many ways a more flexible and better structure to organize schooling. And the reason is, if you have a school district, you have to regulate it because it's a monopoly. And that accretion of regulation year after year makes it very difficult for our educators to be creative and to serve the needs as they would like. But if you're in a nonprofit and you're serving, and there's many different nonprofits in a community serving the students, then you can be much more flexible. And that insight was really driven from watching charter schools operate. And I was trying to understand, like the KIPP charter schools, or Rocket Ship, or Downtown College Prep, or any of these great networks. What are they doing that school districts can't do? And if you look in the chalk, if you look in the classroom, if you look on a whiteboard or computers, there's nothing pedagogical. What it really was a culture of freedom and responsibility that they're able to have because their governance is stable. So school boards turn over very rapidly. And if the organizations that you are all in, and Netflix is an example, if our board of directors changed as fast as a school district board changed, and our superintendent turned over every 2.5 years, that would be the CEO turnover, we also would have a hard time getting to excellence. But in a nonprofit, the board members are more stable than in a school district. And fundamentally from that flows stability in the strategies being chosen and the chance to achieve excellence. So what's remarkable about the charter school movement is really just that it's nonprofit governance with boards that are more stable and slower to change than school districts. And because of that, some of them can emerge into excellence. KIPP's one of the ones I'm on the board of. It's about 200 schools now around the United States. And as it's growing, it's actually learning faster because there are more schools that it's learning from in trying new pedagogy approaches, figuring out how to work better with college campuses so their kids go to and through college. In the city of New Orleans now, 95% of the kids go to a charter school. So it is possible to get really a whole city slowly over time into this nonprofit governance. Washington, D.C. is about half charter. Oakland's about a third. LA's about 25% of the kids now. So again, what this movement's really about is giving educators the chance to have a great working environment, to have the stability and leadership so that they can pioneer an approach. And through that the kids flourish. So that's why I'm an advocate of charter schools. And charter schools are not the anti-unionization movement. If unions were the fundamental problem in American education, then Arkansas, Mississippi, and Kansas would be rock stars in education. And New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts would lag behind. But we don't see that. We see the opposite. If anything, strong unionization is correlated with strong success. And so the fundamental thing that unites us is our willingness and desire to have teachers have great working conditions where they can practice their craft and not have an administration that changes constantly. And that's what we see in charters. So I look forward to continuing to invest in charters, not because I don't like the current public schools, but because many educators are in a system where the leadership changes very rapidly. And so that prevents them from delivering everything that they want. And so I hope with this award and for the next several decades to be continuing to work to support great schools whether they're charter or non-charter, to be able to flourish, to give teachers that voice, and to give the students a chance to achieve all of their dreams. With that, I want to thank you very much for giving me my first gold medal.